Okay, so here's how I see it right now. It's no secret that the Switch 2 trailer is huge, right? Like it's becoming one of the biggest trailers for video games on all of YouTube. It surpassed the PS5 trailer, it grows day by day. People are super curious to figure out what the Switch 2 is and what it isn't. And it just gains more and more views as the days pass. But at the same time, I keep noticing more and more people saying some wild, wacky stuff about this system. They're like on extreme ends of the spectrum. It's the cheapest ever. It's the most expensive ever. It's the worst ever. It's the best ever. It's gonna crush everything. It's gonna do nothing. And we've got people saying like all the PS5 exclusives are gonna come to Switch. We've got people saying Nintendo is out of their minds doing things they've never done. And I'm wondering if there's some connection. Like, are there secret hypnotic wavelengths in that Switch 2 trailer that are making people forget last generation, wipe their minds, and go bonkers? Because all of the stuff being said, so much of it is just crazy. And today I want to sort through like what these wild theories are and why they're just so silly. So good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. I am insanely excited for the Switch 2. Let's say that straight off the bat. I think you can tell this is SwitchForce. I love new consoles. It's the best part of the industry, in my opinion. It's the most exciting part. I think the Switch 2 is going to be so rad, and I think it's going to deliver such an exciting future where Nintendo can have Mario and Grand Theft Auto on the same system, and they both play pretty darn sweet. I think it's going to be amazing, but I'm not one to be out here saying that this system is going to magically be $350. Or in the case of SkillUp, who I love and thinks does great work, say that Nintendo is doing something they've never done before.
There is a direct scheduled for April of this year, which seems like a long time between the moment a console is revealed and the moment where you talk more about it. I don't know, but Nintendo, man, that's like classic Nintendo right there. It's like, that doesn't make sense, does it? Oh, it's Nintendo. Of course, it's not meant to make sense. It's just that's how they roll.
Okay, so waiting this long between the reveal and April 2nd is the most Nintendo crazy, what are they doing? This makes no sense. How could you do this to us thing ever? Except it's the exact time frame that they did last time between the Switch 1 reveal and the Switch 1 presentation. Like, it's a quick Google search to find out, like, hey, it was October to January, and this is January to April. Like I said, I love SkillUp. I don't like pointing things out specifically like this, but it's just an example of how people are going kind of crazy. We got RGT saying that now that Microsoft is clearly behind Nintendo for the Switch 2, PlayStation is going to get just as behind them.
Initially with Sony, it was just Lego Horizons. Not a big deal. MLB The Show, I'm not really going to count that because, like I said, that was mandated by the MLB. But it was just one game. It's just one game. Who cares? Not a big deal. But that's how these things start. That's how these things start. And with these inflated budgets and huge companies, you got to do something. You got to do something to make up your revenue. Because, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what you're saying. I don't understand. I think that, yes, the industry is in flux. I think Sony's making some executive level changes, but Microsoft is basically gasping for air, and that's why they are throwing their games onto every system they possibly can. As far as I'm aware, the PS5 sales are just fine, and they're not panicking. There's no way Ratchet and Clank and Uncharted quickly appear on the Switch. MLB The Show and Horizon Adventures, totally different, smaller ventures, and an ability for Sony to spread their wings and spread their IP without sacrificing their clear exclusives. Like, the Switch 2 is not going to be $350. It's the same price as the Switch OLED was 4 years ago. Why are we even having this conversation? I know YouTube is all about just saying like, oh my gosh, we uncovered the craziest thing about the Switch 2. It's going to play Microsoft games. But I just don't understand why everybody is so adamant about constantly spewing this stuff that just can't be any sort of middle ground. Is it okay for the Switch 2 to just be an awesome Nintendo system? Apparently not. And I feel like the rhetoric before the launch of this system is so much crazier than the rhetoric of the last Nintendo system or even the last PlayStation or Xbox systems. I guess that's to be expected as time moves on. Social media, the internet, what's being said, the short form video, it's got to get crazier and crazier. It's got to get more and more intense, but I hope there's still room for just like, man, I love Nintendo. I think what they're doing is really great. I don't think it's going to be the most graphically supreme system of all time. I also don't think it's going to suck and be not worth it. It's just going to be really fun and really Nintendo. Like, I feel like everyone is wanting Nintendo to either absolutely dominate and decimate everyone else, releasing the ultimate Mario, setting expectations insanely high that even the great Nintendo releases that we're due to have here in 2025 might not live up to expectations, or you're setting the bar so low and you're so doom and gloom that you think no matter what Nintendo does, they're going to fail and it's going to suck. I don't see much, just like I'm super pumped for the Switch 2. I think it's going to be Nintendo's best system, and I think it's going to do really great, and I hope that the other systems also exist and do really great, and like the industry is best when there's competition and when everybody's succeeding, and we've got so much back and forth over like, oh my gosh, is that Mario Kart 9? Is that Mario Kart 10? Is this going to be... Like, even Nintendo's confused. In the same breath that they redesigned Donkey Kong for Mario Kart 9 and presumably the future of Donkey Kong games going forward as judged by the changes on the merch on the websites for Nintendo of America and Nintendo of Japan, they're also putting out old Donkey Kong to high five and hug all the kids that go to Super Nintendo World this May in Orlando, Florida. They don't even know which Donkey Kong is the current Donkey Kong, just like it feels like nobody knows what to really say about the Switch 2. And part of this, honestly, is because there's so little information about the Switch 2. It either needs to be crazy bananas or it needs to be horrible. One of those two things is going to rattle people's brains. Either it's so impressive they're going to just freak out, or it's so unimpressive they're equally going to freak out. And I hope, like, look, I know I get excited. I know sometimes I think things suck. I know sometimes a direct will just blow me away and I'll be like, that was the direct of all directs. And then sometimes a direct will just doom and gloom me and be like, man, Nintendo, they are definitely slowing things down. They don't get it. The Switch 2, we need that info now. Like, I'm not immune to hype and I'm not immune to disappointment. But I do think it's important to not just like throw out all these insane theories and try to get some traction, because we're setting ourselves up for a really weird quandary where I think a lot of people are going to feel very confused and very disappointed with the Switch 2 when we actually see all the nitty-gritty details in all of the games. And in reality, it should be insanely exciting. I've seen a bunch of videos pop up of like, did we ruin the Switch 2 reveal with the leaks? And honestly, I think that's like attributing too much intensity to that initial trailer. It's very cool that we got the Switch 2. It's very cool that there's a new Mario Kart. It's very, very awesome that we're going to be playing this thing in just a couple of months. But the hyperbole around all of it, I feel like it's just thrusting us up and taking us down and thrusting us up and taking us down. It's Tower of Terror, except the tummy twister is way worse than the actual ride. You're up, down, all around. And the Nintendo Switch 2 will come out, and I don't know that many people will know how to feel about it. When in reality, in my opinion, no matter what Nintendo does, it's going to be a super exciting moment and a super exciting day. Like, that April 2nd Direct is not too far off. It's not too near. It's just fine. It's what Nintendo wants to do, and it's exactly what they did last time. There's no weird way of how they're going about this. They're actually just following the pattern that worked well for them with the Switch 1. And yeah, this system is going to be powerful, but it's not going to be cutting-edge, breathtaking PS5 Pro level graphics. And that's fine because it's a handheld with a small screen, and as long as it runs better and looks better than the Switch, we're in business. Nintendo may not have 10 new games on the first day, but they got Mario Kart 9. It's the biggest title they could possibly give us, and it's going to be there almost assuredly at launch. Nintendo is not going to show this game at their first hardware overview for the Nintendo Switch 2 and then be like, nah, that's the holiday release. That's the holiday release. They're going to show it because it's one of the games you can play almost immediately, if not immediately, on Switch 2. And I think, like, we can love the Switch 2 and we can appreciate them getting Assassin's Creed and Final Fantasy, and it's not a failure if they don't take over the world. It's okay if we do get a good chunk of Microsoft games and even some Sony games on the Switch, and it's also like perfectly fine if we don't. Microsoft is making very unique, distinct moves that really haven't been made in the platform holder space before by moving many of their IP multi-platform specifically to try to stay making money and stay alive in an industry that has basically shut the Xbox out this generation. The PlayStation 5 is good, the Switch is great, and the Xbox is trying to be anything else it can be except an Xbox. That's why they're moving so many games like Doom the Dark Ages and maybe even eventually Starfield to other platforms. But I don't believe Sony is going to be as quick to do that. And while the industry is always evolving and changing, it's not like the Switch 2 is going to be this cataclysmic boom that just erodes every face of every company and exactly how we know them to operate, and they're all of a sudden going to be different and be bowing down to Nintendo. I think that's like an insane expectation to set, and I don't think Nintendo even expects that. Like, will they get more support than last generation? Yes. Will the new titles be on Switch 2? Yeah, most of them will. But are we all of a sudden going to like have Nintendo overtake Sony and Microsoft and swallow all of their IP and get Gears of War, Halo, Uncharted, Last of Us, and more on the Switch? I don't think so. Let's calibrate our expectations. Let's calibrate our wild theories. And let's not just say anything and everything under the sun that maybe could possibly happen to send the audiences on a Tower of Terror ride up and down the hype meter as fast as humanly possible. But like, can we just have a conversation about Switch 2 that isn't on one extreme of the spectrum or another? I want y'all to be excited. I'm insanely excited. I think you should be incredibly excited. But I think it's exciting just to see a new Nintendo system, to get a new Mario, to get a new Zelda, to get a new Kirby, and to get a new Mario Kart. Like, that is freaking so cool. And I don't think we need to snowball it into some industry-shattering, earth-defying, exciting, insane feature that is going to rewrite the planet for it to still be fun. I don't want people to get to April 2nd with expectations at a meteoric level and then feel like Nintendo let us down when they show off Metroid Prime 4 being a cross-gen title, Mario Kart 9 being an exclusive title, and then the C button actually is just like a quick menu or an online button or something pretty basic. The graphics are good enough, but not insane, and everyone is just going to be like, wait, what? It's $429.99 and it only does that? Dudes, it only does 4K for the first time for a Nintendo system. It only does merging the ability for this platform to have Nintendo's greatest exclusives with so many other major AAA franchises that have built their own insane fandom over the last decade. This is a truly remarkable system without having to do anything that the internet may deem super remarkable. It's remarkable by exactly what it is, a Nintendo system that can do a little bit more. And I don't want to take away from what Nintendo has achieved here by setting such a bar and such crazy theories and waking up every day to it's going to be this or it's not going to be this. It's going to have all the games. It's going to have none of the, like, it's just okay if it's not one extreme or the other. Life is sometimes not about 0 or 100. And it took me a really long time to take that, look at that, absorb that, and then try to actually live that. Because it's easy to go balls to the wall one way or another. And in this case, like, I think Nintendo is doing a super stellar job. And let's talk about that. We don't need to make up crazy theories, and we don't need to make up that Nintendo is being bonkers and insane, and this system isn't innovative, isn't creative, it's so boring, it's so dull, it's so insane. Like, all right, let's balance ourselves out a little bit. Let's equalize a little bit, and let's have fun with the new generation of Switch 2. Without being too crazy. Is that doable? Can we do that? I think that would be a lot of fun. Let me know your take in the comments down below, everybody. I hope this makes sense to you. Like I said, I'm not trying to call out any specific person or any specific thing. I wanted to give you some examples, and I just think like the rhetoric has gotten really, really insane. And my concern with that is not like, oh, don't be excited. It's actually the opposite. It's like, we don't need to set the expectations so high that come April 2nd, all I see on my feed is like, that's it. Because I feel like that's what happened with the Switch 2. And that's why there's a lot of negativity around the Switch 2 reveal. When instead it's like, this is exactly what Nintendo needed to do. And this is exactly the system we've all been wanting. Some of us are just blind to it because, I don't know, because we've already seen it, because it doesn't reach meteoric heights. I don't really want that to be the story on April 2nd and April 3rd. So thanks so much for watching. Appreciate all of you. Always, and until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce, out.